Hello everyone. Hopefully the sound is working good. I'm going to get started in just a minute here. Let's see. Okay. Real quick, this is going to be a stream working on CircuitPython library development. So I am Tim. My name's Tim. I go by Foamy Guy most places online. Foamy Guy in the Adafruit Discord and everywhere else. CircuitPython community member. Been contributing to the libraries in CircuitPython for a little bit over a year now. My background is in mobile and PC software, but I have recently gotten into microcontrollers and electronics and stuff through CircuitPython. In this video, I'm going to be working on the libraries, specifically the display button library and also maybe display text. And we're also going to take a look starting out here at the stubs in the main repo. So real quick, if you're new to CircuitPython, that's what this video is going to be about. CircuitPython is a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Like this one right here is an Adafruit Pi portal that you can see on the screen. This one's real nice because it has a built-in touchscreen and some sensors and things on the back. So we're going to be working with that today because we want to use the display button library that draws a button on the screen. CircuitPython is an open source project, but the financial support for it comes primarily from Adafruit. This video is not a paid endeavor, but they do pay me to work on guides and other software sometimes. So if you like this video, if you want to see more content like this from me and people like me, then definitely support Adafruit by going to adafruit.com and purchasing really fun hardware to play with from there. Okay, with that out of the way, we can get started. And today I'm going to start actually working in the Help with CircuitPython chat room, which this is on Discord as well. So we're in the live broadcast room. This is the Help with CircuitPython room, and you can get help with anything you need, related to CircuitPython here. And in particular, we're going to look at what Kevin Thomas is doing. So he's trying to make the stubs in order to get those loaded up into PyCharm. And so they said they made stubs in the CPU repo. It's giving me Python not found. So let's see here. I've done this before, but it's been a little while. But what I'll do is I will open up the CircuitPython repo and we'll try to make the stubs and see what we get, if it works the same or not. So here's the CircuitPython repo. It's most likely behind, so I'm going to want to update it. So I think we will need to, this is probably my fork, so we will probably need to fetch Adafruit maybe, switch to Adafruit main. Let's see, while we're doing that, I'm going to switch back to the chat real quick. Okay. The chat back over here for now while we're in the help with room. Let's see, this is still pulling. Dating project. What is this? I don't want any Docker files. Cannot apply a patch. Interesting. I don't know what all of these are. If anybody has used the CircuitPython repo and seen anything like this from updating, let me know if you know what that's about. I guess I'm just going to click through all of these. Apply patch. Patch applying partially failed. It looks like it was trying to update frozen libs. Like, I think they're added as Git submodules, maybe is how that works. And it looks like it did not succeed very well. Let's just do cancel for now. I guess what we'll do is, why don't we just grab a fresh clone of CircuitPython instead of messing with whatever I have there. Okay, we'll just clone a fresh one. I probably already have one here. Well, I have a CircuitPython. Well, is it going to do the same thing when I try to update it? Let's try to open that one. This one's my fork. Let's try to open Adafruit, so I have a copy of theirs also. I think I could probably do it both in one repo, but I'm not so great with Git, so I just keep them separate to make it easier. Let's go this window. CircuitPython Adafruit. Let's try to pull it. If this doesn't work, I'll just clone a new copy of it. Try to let it finish doing its thing here. Updating the indices. Okay, getting close. There we go. Docker files. I don't know why there's Docker files in this repo. I wonder what those are for. Let's update this. Fetching. Just open the CPU repo, see it on the broadcast. We'll try again. Do you have to make the virtual env? I don't think you would have to. I guess it probably depends on your CircuitPython. I mean, on your Python environment on your PC. I don't tend to use virtual environments. I do if I absolutely have to. If I need to keep a weird version of something installed to test something I'm working on. For CircuitPython and for most stuff that I do, though, I just use the one main Python installation on my computer. I know that's not how they most people recommend to do it. Most people recommend to do the virtual environments. I don't. I find it more trouble than it's worth most of the time. Tried it in there and the same error. That's weird. It should definitely be able to find Python, I mean, in the virtual environment, because it is just a Python interpreter. Let's see. Updating. Should keep my local repo up to date. Should make a script to update it every day or something, maybe. Okay, there we go. Got a bunch of stuff updated. One thing is, I don't know for sure if we have to do it, but we should probably do it just in case we do, which is, what is it, like submodule sync init or whatever, something like that. I forget exactly what it is. But let's check out the CircuitPython guide, build CircuitPython. Again, I'm not positive if we would have to do this, but I think we might, so, and I don't think it will hurt either way, so we might as well. This thing right here, submodule sync and then submodule update init. Or I don't know, maybe you only need to do one of them technically, but I'm just gonna do both of these here. Submodule. Oh, okay, so you can see one thing is my terminal here is actually inside of a repository where I tried this previously. I have FoamyGuy CircuitPython stubs, which is in the repository I'm in or not? Not in the repository I'm in at all, actually. So why don't we go here, get to the repository. I was okay. CD, it's close. CD CircuitPython Adafruit. Gotta shoot. Get out of there, buddy. Come on. Okay. There we go. That's where we want to be. So I have an old copy of this here. I'm just gonna delete those so we can start fresh. No idea if those were broken or working or what. So I don't think I had to do anything special. I think I was just able to do make stubs. Yeah, and it runs all this stuff. It does say, what is this? Setup tools dist. Okay, yeah, this is one of the warnings that comes from it, and it's because there's not a... So let's look at the files it generated here. It generated these CircuitPython stubs and also CircuitPython stubs egg info. One of the weird things about these, let's just go to the file browser. Show them files. We want to go up one though, we don't want to be inside of this module. So one of the weird things is there's not like a high level, a top level init, like underscore init in here. It's just a bunch of the modules, all the built-in modules. That was one of the things I was thinking might have broken PyPy, but I never did get it figured out. I tried adding that, it didn't seem to make difference. So I don't know what's going on with PyPy. But this error rings a bell. This is, yeah, I saw this error before because it doesn't have that init file. Let's see here. Is this refreshing? It is, okay. Let's look in the chat. Kevin Thomas says empty. CircuitPy stubs exists, but it's empty. Let's see. What is the error they're getting? Can you paste the error they're getting? Something, I think he said it was like, can't find Python. Make stubs, Python was not found. Are you able to just start up the interpreter? Are you able to run just Python git interpreter? Like, so in mine here, I'm in the terminal, I could go just Python like that and it will give me my interpreter. It's pretty much like REPL, same way as CircuitPython has REPL. When run Python, it does go to the REPL. That's really weird. It seems like, I don't know how make works all the way. It seems like maybe make is not finding your Python. That's really weird. Let's see. I don't know how all of these files work together, so I'm not sure exactly where it picks up when you run make. Makefile Python. This one's Python 3. Maybe you have only Python. Maybe yours doesn't have Python 3 in the name. Maybe it's just Python, and maybe this is trying to call Python 3, and that's breaking it. So if you run Python 3, does it work? If the other thing I'll say is that it seems to be building all right for mine, and I was able to add mine. So if yours is not working and you want to just grab a copy of mine, I can send it to you. But it'll be great if we can get you building. Does not work with Python 3. The make, or what doesn't work with Python 3? I mean, it definitely, the make, we have to fix the alias. The make definitely works with Python 3 because I'm pretty sure I don't have Python 2 at all. Okay, well, I'm wrong because I ran Python 2 and it worked. But I do have it such that when I just run Python, it goes straight to Python 3. Gonna change the make file to Python. Yeah, that would be my guess as well. Let's look in that make file again and see what else is in there. Sphinx build force directory for the stubs. Make target. I should have read this file before. I don't know what all these I mean, I always just use like make build and make stubs. I've never looked at all of the rest of the stuff. There's a lot of stuff in here. Docutils. I don't know what that is. Pickle files, JSON, HTML, help. Huh. There's a lot of things in here. Clean. So you can do make clean. So these must be the top level. These must be the top level make commands. So you could say make help and then one of these things, and it would do something. You can do make clean. Here's our make stubs. It's gonna run this Sphinx build -b HTML. So you would have to have Sphinx too. Make sure you have Sphinx installed also. Builder.html echo. Well, but the stubs are not. This must be different. This must be like if you do make space HTML space stubs, maybe? I don't know. This is making HTML files though. Whereas the stubs are like PYE, I think, or something like that. Yeah, PYI. Let's keep going down here. HTML help. Dev help, EPUB, latex. Text man. Let's translate. Here we go. Stubs. Victor. Yeah, this is the one. So this is going. Make the directory CircuitPython stubs. And then it is using that Python alias thing. Tools, extract py, shared bindings. So it looks like this is the code that's running when you run make stubs. So I do think that alias has got to be the thing. Nice. Okay, yeah, it worked. Sweet. Getting the other error, which is can't find ULab code. I think that's because of the submodule thing. I think you need to do the submodule sync and init. Need to do submodule sync /init. I always copy them from here. Oh, update, excuse me, not init, but update. Get module sync quite recursive and get module update. I think that will pull in Microlab as well as all the other submodule things that are in CircuitPython. Okay, that's awesome. Change to Python. I do install pip. Yeah, I can paste them. Whoa, I don't know why they're on different. Oh, it's just not wide enough. There we go. Okay. All right, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and start working on the libraries. Kevin, if you run into any more trouble, definitely ping me, and I'll try to look back also in the help with room in a minute. But if I keep going down this road and you're still having trouble, ping me, and I'll come back around, help you out some more. So the library we're gonna look at today to start with is the display button library. See, good to go, thanks, nice, awesome. Yeah, and let me know if you don't get them loaded up in the interpreter as well in PyCharm, because I managed to get through that and got it working. So if you have trouble there, I can help you with that also. Okay, this is the display button library, and let me switch to the camera here. It's for making buttons on the display, right? Like the name would suggest. So you can have a button on there. This one is set up to be a rounded rectangle. So there's a couple of different style options. And you can also have colors. One thing I will say is the color, well, my camera's not great for one thing, and also the colors definitely are weird. So this looks like kind of orange and pink, whereas in real life it's kind of red and blue. So one thing you'll see though is when I touch on it, it does change colors. It's going to be hard to get it to focus there. You can kind of see it on the angle. It's turned to teal now. So what that does is it's like a touch indicator. When you're touching on it, it flips colors to let you know that it is being held down. And in your CircuitPython code, you can set it up so that you can check if the button is pressed or not, and then you can run, certain code when it is pressed, or certain code when it's, not pressed. And specifically what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to work on an enhancement for this library that will allow you to set the color, the fill color and the outline color of the button after you initialize it. So right now you can set the fill in the color. Like I made this one in my camera here, I made it red and blue, but you have to do it during initialization today. You can't do it after the fact unless if you peek in the code and you know how it's working internally, then you can find the shape. And you can actually do it if you look at the code and figure out what's going on internally. But it would be really, really nice if we just had easy top level properties for fill level and outline color, fill color and outline color. If we had those on the button object itself, then it would not require digging in the code and knowing what's going on inside of there. So that'd be way nice. So that's what we're going to work on. I don't think that I have a copy of this repo yet, so I'm going to have to clone that. Let me just double check. CircuitPython, it's called CircuitPython display button. So I have display shapes and display text, but no display button. So let me clone that. And I want to make sure to clone my own copy of it because I'm going to be making a new branch and pushing to my new branch and then ultimately making a pull request from my new branch back to the Adafruit repository. So I want to definitely get my fork, which I do already have a fork. I just don't have it on this computer. So I'm going to go to my own GitHub here, GitHub Foamy Guy, CircuitPython display button. Going to get the clone URL here. Come on, there we go. Nope, okay, Control A, how about that? And I'm just going to clone a copy of it. Oops, there we go. You can open that in PyCharm, but it won't be in recent yet. CircuitPython display button. Let's go new window. I'm going to use this project as well to test it. So the simple test code right here that's in the examples directory, it's always good when you're going to start working on a library to grab the simple test code and put that on your device. That's what I've got loaded up on that PyPortal that was on the camera that I showed you. This is the exact same code right here from the simple test. The one tweak I did make was I did change the colors a little bit, the fill color and the outline color. I was trying to make it show up better on the camera, but it maybe did a little bit better, but still not great. But otherwise, it's the exact same code that's in this simple test is what's running on my PyPortal. So the first thing to note is, what we're trying to do. So we create the button right here, and we pass in the fill color and the outline color right here. And what we would like to be able to do is, after we create it, do something like this. Fill color equals, and let's just say, we want to change it, right? So we could put hex, like maybe we want to make it green, like this. And the same thing for outline color. So we could have another one of these. And let's say we want the outline to be pink, maybe. Okay, so we could run this, but what we'll see is those properties don't exist, so it will either crash or do nothing. Looks like do nothing is what it will do. So you can see, I set the fill color to red, I set the outline color to pink, and if I switch back to the camera here, even though it's a little bit difficult to see, you can tell that it's still red and blue. The outline looks pink again there a little bit, but that's just a trick of the camera. But you can see there it didn't change colors. And one thing I'm going to do is while I'm working on this, I'm actually going to change gears a little bit and use this Pygame display. So this is a library that I created. It works with Blinka Display IO. So that's, Blinka, the CircuitPython compatibility layer. There's a Blinka Display IO, which allows you to use Display IO code in Blinka, but it is meant to run on, physical hardware screens that have an SPI bus and everything like that. What I added to that was this Pygame display, which is going to let me, basically, it spawns up a Pygame window. Pygame is a Python library for making games. It's a really old library. It has a lot of support. It spawns up a Pygame window, and then it allows CircuitPython to treat it as though it's a display there, which is really nice because it lets me test display IO code right on my computer, right on my Linux computer, without having to get the microcontroller in the mix. Of course, we definitely want to test this on the microcontroller when we're done, because that's where it's meant to go. But this is really nice because we can work on it without having the microcontroller in the mix. And one thing that's also going to be nice about this is that the colors hopefully will work better. Although I see in the preview they might still look weird, or maybe, okay, no, it's just behind a little bit is the deal. I see. Let me close a couple of these windows so I have less things going on this computer. Pause that one too. We don't need to have that running. And I'll pause that one. Okay. There we go. No, okay, the colors are good. Got my preview there. Let me switch back and get the chat going. Put that one back. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use to test it with, because it's nice. I don't have to switch back and forth between the camera and the code. I can just run this and it's nice and easy. So what I'm going to do is take a copy of this for now and put it into the directory where I'm going to work on the button. That way it's just there and I can run it. We're not going to check it in to the repo, but I'm going to put it in there just so I can use it while I'm working on this. And I'm going to run this, make sure it works the same. I'll close the other one. Going to run this and make sure that it works from here as well. Yep, it does. Okay. And what you'll see inside here, if we open up this code, it's almost the exact same as the simple test that we were just looking at. So the code works pretty much the exact same. It creates the button, so on and so forth. It adds it to the display. Because this is using Blinka Display IO, everything works pretty much the same. You create the button, you add it to a group if you want, and then you call show on your display. You pass in the group, and that will put it onto the screen, or in this case, into the Pygame window. One difference in the Pygame display, you do use this while display running instead of while true like you would do in a CircuitPython script. This makes it so that you can use the X button on the window here. Like when this spawns up, you can click the X here and it will allow this code to actually finish properly. But other than that, it works the same. So we'll see here again, the thing we want to add, we want to be able to do this, button.fill color equals a new color. So, if we wanted it to go to green, and also outline color. And so we'll run this. You'll see that it's not going to take effect yet. It's still the same color that it used to be, which is right now what it is blue on the fill. It's red on the outline. And then in this particular example, I also have it setting the background color of the whole window. So the whole window right now is green. And when you click on the button in this one, it changes the background of the whole window. So you can see when I click and hold, my button changes, same way it did on the PyPortal. When I release, then the whole background changes as well. And we don't really need the background changing for right now. So I think what we could do, well, one thing is I tested this code the other day to change the shape color. I'm going to comment that out. So that's a little sneak peek at what we're going to be doing in order to implement these properties. But I'm going to comment it out for now. And I'm also going to turn off all the code that's messing with the background color. We don't really need that right now. So I think nice and easy, high-level way to do that, I'll just comment out this where it adds the background sprite to our group, I guess, probably is what splash is. Yeah. That way it won't get added. We'll still have the button. It'll still exist, so the rest of the code that's trying to change the color will not crash or anything. But it won't be actually changing the background color and distracting us like that. Okay, so one thing is, I do notice it is changing colors. We did get to green and pink. Do we have some other code in here? Color blue. Maybe this is changing the color. If I turn these off, do we end up with a green? Maybe I'm wrong and this does exist. I don't think so though. Okay, it spawns first and it is teal on the inside and red on the outside. And I click and hold and it goes to red on the inside and green on the outside, which I think are inverse colors maybe from the other colors that were there. So I think that's why it chose those. And I let go, it goes back to teal and red. Teal and red. Okay, maybe this is already working. Let's look in the button code. We have check color. We have the initializer where we passed in fill color and outline color. These went into this check color. What does this function do? This is finding out if it's a tuple or a hex code. Then I guess it's returning a hex code always. Yes. If it's a tuple, it converts it to a hex code and then returns it. If it wasn't a tuple, then it just returns it. So it assumes it's a hex code if it's not a tuple. So it creates all of these selected colors for us. I don't think those are... No, okay, those are in the API as well. Inverts the fill color. So by default, it does the invert color, but you can change it if you want by passing a selected fill and a selected outline. So when they say selected, they mean like pressed, basically. So this is creating the body, which is the shape of the button, which is the thing today we can actually go ahead and change. If we say self.body.fillColor, it does work. Or excuse me, I think it's self.body.fill. It does work. But what we want to be able to do is just button.fillColor. So we have a label. So we have properties. These are down to the properties. We have the label property, which is for the text. We have the setter for that. We have selected. Selected inverts the colors. I think this would be, you could call selected true or false if you wanted to. Well, you have to call selected true or false when it gets touched, actually. Yeah, not call selected true or false, but set selected true or false. So let's look in the code here. We have this loop. We're saying, you know, while display running, that's pretty much like while true. In this case, we are using Pygame to get the mouse click, right? Because I'm getting a mouse click, it's not coming from a touchscreen. If I look back at the PyPortal code, though, you know, this part of it would be using the touchscreen. It's initializing the touchscreen. And in our loop right here, it says, you know, get the touch point, ts.touchPoint. And then it says if button contains the touch point, then set selected to true. Else, if P was like falsy, if P was none, basically, then set the selected to false. So that's the logic on the PyPortal with the touchscreen, and the logic in here in Pygame is pretty much the same. We get the mouse click position right here. If the button contains the mouse click position, it's doing this cur color stuff, which I think this stuff was setting the background. But just to be sure, what I'm going to do is comment that out. So if the button does contain the position, then we want to do nothing. Getting mouse down events. So there's actually in Pygame, there's two different events, mouse up and mouse down. So this one up here, we got mouse up. So, you know, releasing the click button on the mouse. And then down here, we got mouse button down. So pressing the mouse button on the down on the mouse. We do the same thing though. We just say if button contains that position, then we want to set it selected. And down here, we don't have any of the color changing stuff. So there's really nothing that we need to comment out. We could leave we should be able to leave this selected true or false. That's what's giving us the behavior of setting the color of the button to the invert so that we know it's pressed. Okay, so we definitely don't have any more weird stuff going on with colors, I don't think. Just because we don't need them for now, we're not using this background thing, I think I'm going to turn off these as well. Just go ahead and comment out this whole, again, though this is just the background, I don't think this would really make a difference, but just to keep our test code here very focused, we'll try to get rid of everything we're not using. Okay, now let's run this and see if we're getting the right colors. So that goes to teal, and then red, and then teal, and then red, and then teal. Okay. Yes, okay. So we're definitely just getting, I'll tell it in terms of just the fill color for now. We're getting that teal color, and then the inverse of it, which is red, which makes sense. And so then again, just to show that this part does not currently work, what we'll do is set this. So we're going to set the fill color like this to green, which I think should not work. But when I let go of it, it does. Let me try it on the PyPortal. Maybe this is a quirk of the Pygame thing. It's supposed to work exactly like display.io, so if that's in there, then we'll need to make an issue or something and try to get that resolved. So for now, I've got on the PyPortal, I've got red fill. I'm going to do away with outline for now and just keep it to 1. So it starts out as red, and I'm trying to change it here to green. Go back to the camera here. Okay. So again, it shows up a little orange on the camera, but that is definitely the red color. When I press it, it goes to teal, which makes sense because that's the invert of red. When I release it, it goes to green. When I touch it again, it goes back to teal. So now it's like stuck on green. That's really weird though, because it starts doing it after I press. So before we get too much farther here, let me take the current copy of button and make sure this is what's on my PyPortal. So there was a different one on there. Let me go to list. So you can see I had a few different ones I was working on here. I also have an MPY one. I'm going to delete the MPY one, even though I don't think it matters. It should take the Python one anyway, but just in case. So there's my button. I just pasted it. It's updated today, right now. Okay. And then let me go to the camera again. Does it still switch to green here? There's teal. Does. Well, that's really weird. So let's go back to looking at the code here. Display button. So, I mean, it's definitely not working as intended, because we should, if we set it to green right here, right after we create it, and if it was working right, then our button would start out as green. It would not wait for us to touch it before it becomes green. So something to do then with selected must be making it switch to green. I don't have any other code in here. Yeah. So let's just make sure that this is coming from selected. So we'll comment those out and pass instead. That way, basically nothing will happen when we touch it. It won't change colors anymore, I think. So it starts out as red. I touch it and nothing happens. So that's good. One thing we could do is we could check if the touching is actually working by printing when we touch it. So like if it does contain P, then we could say print touched. Maybe touched down, like as in your finger is holding down on it. We don't need to pass anymore if we have a print there. And I think this will just spam, so what I'll do, let me try to go side by side here, I guess. Let's go camera. And let's do it this way. I'll go like that. Try to be cognizant here in my layout too. I'm trying to get better about not getting anything covered. There we go. So now when I touch it, it's going to spam all that stuff into the REPL here. It's hard to tell. I guess I could clear it by opening and closing. You can see there it spams a bunch of stuff. One thing we could do is maybe instead of just having it put some text, we could print the point. So that way it'll change the bunch of different numbers here. Okay, so touching is definitely working, and we're no longer changing to green, so therefore we know that there's a bug somewhere inside selected that's causing it to change to green. The next thing I want to do is just confirm that the way I did this is also related to it. Like if I take this back out, will the button still turn green or not? So we got red and teal, back to red. Back to red, back to red. Everything's fine there. So somehow when we call button fill color here after the fact, it is causing it to change to green, but not until we touch it. Or more specifically, not until selected gets set back to false. Selected starts on false, it goes to true when we touch down. That turns our button to teal, and then when we release, that's when it goes to green. So it starts on red, we touch down, it goes to teal, we release, it goes to green. So let's go back and look in the code again. In the button code, so we have a selected property. So one thing we'll do is look inside of here. Well, let's keep going. There's selected property. There's a group property. This is for backwards compatibility. It's almost time. I could actually probably go back and think about removing this pretty soon. Let's get straightened up a little bit. Oh, I see some folks said some stuff in the chat. Let's see what people are saying in the chat here. This might be for Scott's. Yesterday during the stream, I asked about Wi-Fi Bluetooth support. You said Feather would work with the module. Is that available yet? Looks like there was almost a cat cam. Yeah, I have a cat. He's running around. He's chilled out a little bit. I got a little spot for him next to me here. If he comes up and hangs out, then I'll throw the camera on him. I don't have a dedicated one set up yet. Already signed up for Feather notifications. Don't see SPI supported. Think you're correct. Okay. Looks like they're talking mostly about the that Raspberry Pi Pico, which is what Scott was messing with on his stream yesterday, which definitely I'm really excited. I got mine ordered. It's coming in the mail, so excited to play with that once it comes. So the other thing we have here is contains. That's our function that returns true or false whether the touch point is inside the button or not. So let's look at what's happening. I think maybe what's happening, yeah. So the thing is, we have a self.fill color, but we don't have any code that kind of like tells it to refresh until selected. Once selected true and then back to false happens, then it takes effect because in essence it refreshed the display. It caused it to redraw. So this does work a little bit more than I really thought it did, but it's still not working all the way because we want to be able to do it where you could change it right away or anytime you want really and have it just take effect right away. So it needs to redraw itself after you change the color. So what we want is a property for this. And before I start making a bunch of edits to the code, what I'm going to do is get a working branch. And before I do that, what I need to do is make sure I have Adafruit remote, which I don't currently, because I want to start a new branch from the current main inside the repository, because mine is almost certainly out of date. Like, yeah, so Adafruit CircuitPython display button. This is the branch I want to start working from, master right here. Whereas my actual one, Foamy Guy master, it's 4 commits behind. So I don't want to start from that. And I could update it and then make a new branch from it, but I can also do this other thing I learned, which is how I've been doing it lately. I think this is kind of close to how Scott does his as well. He doesn't keep the main branch or the master branch up to date. He just makes a new one whenever he wants to work on something. So I got this figured out a little bit. Let's see if I can remember the command here. I think it's git checkout -b. So then it's the name of my branch. So I want color properties, because that's what we're going to add. And then you say the remote and the name of the branch you want, but that reminds me I don't have Adafruit as a remote, so we're going to have to add that first. So let me do that. I can copy Adafruit's URL, maybe. Okay, I'll use this button. Back to PyCharm. I'm going to close this CircuitPython one here. There we go. So git remote add Adafruit paste. Whoops, I got 2 pastes. Now we can do what I was going for before, which is git checkout -b, the name of the branch, so color properties, the name of the remote, so Adafruit / the name of the branch master. And then very, very importantly, the last thing we want to make sure to do is tell it no track, because if I just did it how it is right now, it would check out a branch of Adafruit master, and then when I tried to push, it would push into Adafruit master, and that would be bad. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is when I go to push this, I want it to push into a branch called color properties on Foamy Guy's remote on my own repo. And the way that I get it to do that is with this flag right here, no track. So that tells it not to track Adafruit, and instead, I guess, tells it to track mine. What did I get here? I did something wrong. Oh, get check. It's supposed to be get check out. No. Okay, so I added the remote for Adafruit, but the other thing I need to do is fetch, actually. Get fetch Adafruit. Otherwise, their stuff doesn't get downloaded to my computer, and I can't do that. So I have to do fetch first. There we go. Now it worked. So you see here, switch to new branch color properties. I have this terminal thingy here, Starship, that shows me the branch I'm on. So you can see there, color properties. And also, if I click in PyCharm here, this little menu down here, which is for VCS, also refreshes. You can see it says color properties now as well. So we want to add a property for setting the fill color. So we need to do that inside the button, Python file. Here we go. Let me just check on the chat here. Featherwing looks like general touchable. Is this for a specific display or it's generable? Yeah, great question, Juan. It's for any display. Any display IO display. IO device. It can work with any display IO device and any touch or other interface that returns a point. I'm going to say point object. I think it might be a tuple of like XY. But I mean, you can see how, I'm using it on the PyPortal, and the PyPortal touchscreen library returns coordinates. We could look at what printed, actually. I was printing those. This is what comes from the touchscreen library in CircuitPython. It returns you these XY coordinates of the touch. And you could see like how I was doing it back in Pygame. It's getting XY coordinates from the mouse events. So it works slightly differently, but because the button library just has this function here, contains, you call contains, you pass it a point with an XY coordinate, and it will take care of telling you, true or false, whether that point was inside the button. So it's actually really nice. It can work on any display IO display, and it can work on any kind of input as long as it has like XY coordinates to tell you what got interacted with. Okay, so we want to make a property. One thing is we're not going to be able to make a property that's called fill color because we already have this variable here, self.fillColor. So whenever we are going to make a property out of a thing that used to be a variable like this, one thing we need to do is rename this to something else. And the typical way that it works is it's usually done with underscore and then the name, right? So the underscore indicates that it's meant to be private. But the other thing that it does is it changes the name for us so that we'll be able to have a property that's actually called fill color. Whereas then we'll have a variable underscore fill color that actually holds the color inside of there. Yeah, you're welcome, Juan. Yeah, thanks for the great question. I appreciate you hanging out and asking about it. Okay, so we want to set these to underscores. I'll work on just the fill color and the outline color for now. We can come back and do the selected colors afterwards. I think they'll work the same. So I'm going to switch those to underscores. We need to go and fix everywhere where it called them. So, PyCharm, big proponent of PyCharm. It's really nice. It makes this super easy because now all of these are highlighted yellow. So they stick out like a sore thumb to tell me where all of them are at. So that's super helpful. Take the gloves off here a little bit. Got a couple more to fix. I noticed this. I don't know what a tilde would do inside Python code like that. I had no idea tilde was an operator. If anybody knows what the tilde operator does and feels like sharing, drop that in the chat. I'm kind of curious. I'm guessing it's something like bit math related somehow, but I'm not sure. I've never seen that. Outline color. There's probably one or two more somewhere. Yeah, there's one. And a couple down here inside of selected, which makes sense. There we go. So now I can see along the side here, I don't have any more yellow highlights. It's a negation bitwise operator. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Negation bitwise operator. So I guess it will take bits and then flip them. Anyone that was a 1 will turn into a 0, and anyone that was a 0 will turn into a 1, which makes sense, right? That's how it's getting the inverted color, probably. So yeah, that makes total sense. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Got me on the right track. So yeah, I'm sure that's being used there to get those invert colors. Yeah. So it's setting the selected color. That's a really neat trick. I hadn't ever considered that you could flip the bits like that. I guess that's probably just how it's done a lot. But I don't mess with bit math stuff too much. I haven't, at least. More and more now that I play with CircuitPython, but still lots to learn for sure. Okay, so I don't have any more yellow highlights. Everything is looking good here. So next thing I want to do is make a property for the fill color. So I'm just going to copy paste the label. I'm generally a big copy paster. That way I don't have to type as much, and that way there's less chance of me making a typo. It's not impossible. You know, I still do mess it up sometimes, but I like to do it that way. Keep my preview there. Okay, so this will be called fill color, and we want to, you know, this is why we had to change that other variable from being fill color. We had to make it underscore fill color so that we could, you know, go on and define a function here that's going to be just fill color. So we would like to return our variable underscore fill color, and then we want to make a setter also. And that one, the way that works, I think it's like at the name setter. Yeah. So at fill color dot setter. So it's still named fill color. And in this one, what we want to do is we don't need to return anything. We should fix this label though. Let's do that, the comment. So this is the fill color of the button. I'm going to say the button body just to be super specific. And the button body is the shape. So that is, you know, either the rounded rect or regular rect or shadow rect or whatever. I think there might be one other option. Same thing. Is it usually just duplicating the docstring? No, it looks like the getter has a docstring and the setter doesn't. So I'll follow that convention. So our getter has one, our setter does not. This one's not going to return anything, but what it is going to do is set the new color. So two things. We need to accept a new color, and we want to set it on self.body.fill, because if we go back up to the constructor, we can see here in the constructor we're creating our shape. This is coming from the display shapes library. It's creating a shape and it's putting it in that property right there, body, self.body. And the display shapes, they already have a fill property. So if I go CircuitPython display shapes, GitHub, we can look at the code there real fast. CircuitPython display shapes, and we can see, so for instance, like rounded rect, that's one of the ones we're using. If we look down at the properties, there is a fill property and a fill property setter, as well as an outline property and an outline property setter on this, and same thing on rect. This one is the rounded rect, but the same thing exists on the regular one as well. And so that's exactly what we want to change. Our shape is stored on this property body, so that's how we call it up, is self.body.fill equals the new color, but We don't want to just do new color by itself. We want to do that check color, which was called underscore check color. Yeah. We want to make sure to call that. That way we will support the same way it does now, which is either a tuple or a hex code. So we'll make sure to test that after the fact. Okay, I think that should work. So what I'll do is just go ahead and test it out. I like to test stuff out as early as I can, as soon as it seems like it will work. So let's give that a try. I'm going to copy this library file. I'm going to go back to my CircuitPy drive, which is the Pi portal that I have connected here. CircuitPy lib. I'm going to delete the old button. And I'm going to paste the new one. Maybe. Oh, you know what? It doesn't let me copy out of here. I used to be able to do this on my old computer, where I could just do copy on this file here. This computer doesn't like it. One of these days I might look into it and try to figure out how, because it is really nice. I don't have to open the folder first, but there we go. We'll copy it from here, paste it into lib. Now we've got button. I'll go to the camera. I put it to its own window last time. There it is. Okay, so this one actually worked. You can see it's green now. I'll switch back to the Pygame display one here in a minute. So, you know, we saw that the Pygame display library, it's got the same problem as the Pi portal, but this one worked. It set it to green. You know, if we look in our code, we can see there we called button fill color green, and it did work now. So I think that's exactly what we need. If we, you know, click on it, we can see the inverse. The inverse goes to teal still. Ooh, and that goes back to red. Okay, so we do still have something we need to fix up. It seems like after it goes to selected and then unselected, it reverts back to the original color. So let's try to fix that. My guess is it just taking the invert? Is it just taking the invert again? Selected setter. If we are selected, so if we are not selected, we just return here. We don't have to do anything. New fill equals selected fill. New outline equals selected outline. New label equals selected label. Else new fill equals fill color. Oh, I know what happened. So inside of here, we changed the color on the body, but we need to set our variable as well. We only did it on our shape. We need to actually put it on that variable that we renamed earlier. So we also need to say self.fillColor equals the new color. And whoops, what we could do is call this here and then set this like this way. Doesn't matter that much, but this way we don't repeat the check color call. Yeah, I think that should be okay. Let me, I'm gonna start trying to go back to this Pygame one and see if we can do it here. So in this one, just to try to remember what the colors are, we start out on teal and we try to change it to green. So if our code is working, then our button will show as green, and then the opposite, the selected color, would have gotten computed from teal, so it would be red, I think. Stop and rerun. Okay, that part's working. We do have the green button, and when we click it, it does go to red, and when we unclick it, it does go back to green. So that is looking good, I believe. And it did not ever change back to teal, so that's perfect. That is exactly what we want. So let's do the outline color the same way. I think is, oh. No, yeah, it is, okay. Chat there. There we go. Let me just check on the Twitch chat real quick. Try to keep an eye on all these different places, okay. All right, let's do the outline color the same way, so we can just copy the fill color. Fix that spacing. This one is outline color. And fix it there. Of course, we don't want to do fill color anymore. So set the outline color, then set the body dot outline to the outline color. Yeah, that looks like it should do it. We'll change the label here too, maybe docstring, the outline color of the button body. Maybe border be a good word to use there. Adafruit button. Okay, let's, can we make the outline bigger? I don't remember. Outline color. Let's look in the initializing arguments here. Sorry, drawing a blank on that word, arguments. So there's fill color, outline color. There's no like stroke size, like how big do you want the outline to be? I think that the shapes do. I think that the shapes do support that though. So maybe that's another enhancement we could come and add one of these days. Yeah. So round rect is right here. That's one of the things we're using to make the button. And it does allow you to set stroke, which is the size of the outline. So it's not carried through right now to the button library, but we could potentially add that if we wanted to. I was going to change it to be bigger, that way it'd be easier to see. But because it's not there, I won't mess with it for now. So let's go ahead and test out the outline color. So we set our fill color here to green. What did our outline? It got originally set to pink. So I'll do white. Maybe white will be easy to see, hopefully. Or yeah, let's do yellow actually. Let's do yellow like, oh, we don't want to do fill though. Outline. There we go. It's really hard to see, isn't it? I do think it's yellow. Let me switch to something that's hopefully a little bit easier. I'll do red. Well, okay, I said I'll do red, but then I put it to blue. Yeah, RGB is the order, so we want to go, if we want red, we got to do the first ones. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's really tiny. Again, it's like 1 pixel, I guess, is probably what the default is. We're not sure how good it's coming through on the stream. Hopefully it's all right, but yeah, it might be kind of tough to see in the preview there. But it does have a red border. That is working. So the other things I'll do here is just do the selected colors while I'm at it. The selected outline and the selected fill, because we do have those properties as well right here. One other thing it does have also actually is the label color. Maybe we could add a property for that as well if we wanted to. But let's do the selected fills first. Hands are getting cold. I'm going to put my gloves back on here. Alrighty, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so selected fill and selected outline. Let's add those. And again, I'm big on copy pasting, so I'm just going to take all 4 of these since those already work, and we can use those and just change to be selected, right, like that. So one thing we will need to do is same thing we did with the other ones. We need to change the name of that variable, because right now we're already using the name selected fill color and selected outline color, so we'll have to go add our underscore onto that. Right up here. Whoops, there we go. And can fix any code that refers to it. Although actually we have the getter property, so the code could stay the same, I guess. The rest of the code would work with the getter property, I think. So I guess, yeah, we didn't necessarily need to change all of those instances that we did before. I don't think. This is selected fill color. This is selected fill color. And we don't want to immediately set the body color when we do selected, because it should only change when it gets touched. So we'll just leave that up to the selected true and false properties. So selected fill color sets the variable selected fill color. No, excuse me. This is getting the variable selected fill color. This one is setting the color selected fill color. Instance attribute selected fill color is declared outside the constructor. Maybe this is a different name? Ah, it's not fill color, it's just selected fill and selected outline. So yeah, again, here's another really nice thing, like PyCharm highlighted that thing for me, as if to say, hey, this is probably messed up somehow, and it turns out it definitely was messed up somehow. So really nice to have full IDE help you out like that for sure. So one thing actually we could do then is we should probably make this match. So this should be selected fill, and this should be selected fill, and this should be outline, all like that. That way the API doesn't change any. Well, the API, the setting after the fact API never really existed, or it didn't work all the way. Guess it was undocumented but existed. But this way it will make it so it doesn't change. Don't want to add that color. Okay, so this will be selected outline. Again, we don't want to change the body color right now because we want to wait until it actually gets touched. So is that everything we need? I think, let's see, selected fill, get it, set it, selected outline, get the selected outline, setting it. Yeah, that seems fine, I think. So this one, we're setting the fill color to red and we're setting the outline color to green. I think our touch is what right now? Our touch goes to teal, is that right? Let's look at this. No, okay, our touch right now goes to red. So let's change that up. So let's go, we'll make it go to blue when it's touched. That way we can definitely see the difference. Selected fill equals blue. You know what, let's test the tuples also while we're here. I don't know, is it 0 to 255? That's probably what it is. Want spaces into here for pylint. So again, you know, I know I probably sound like a broken record. Another one of the really nice things though about PyCharm is it has pylint running kind of like automatically all the time. So it's really nice for CircuitPython because we have to run pylint on everything before we push a PR anyway. Otherwise it will fail the actions. PyCharm is nice because it does it while you're working. So button selected fill. So we change that to blue. So let's give this a try. So we're green at first. When we click, we go to blue. That's perfect. When we unclick, we go back to green. Okay, that is excellent. Let's do it so that when we click, our outline color will go to red. Right now, our outline color when we click here is green. Let's make it so it goes to red. Close that. I'll just copy this one, we'll change it to selected outline. Okay, I think that seems good. Let's run it. Perfect. Now we got blue fill and red outline while we're clicking the button. And we were able to set both of those colors using our new property setters right here. So let's just take one more peek back at the code, see if there's anything else we want to clean up. I mentioned doing the label color before. We want to do the label color. Let's take a look in the so we have a label setter which allows us to change the text. We have a label color. We have a label color argument. In a selected label color, I believe. Selected label. Yeah, this is also a color, and that's being used to change the font change the color of the font when the button is pressed. Yeah, let's go ahead and add those two. Why not? We're in the process of adding properties to change colors. Why don't we just go ahead and fill it out? That way we can do the color of the label as well. And then the other thing I'll do after I add these properties is I'll make a new example that shows how to use all of these new properties. It can be used for testing and also just to show people that they're there now and how to use them. Let's see, somebody said something in the chat. Let's look at that. Was that an artifact on YouTube or is the text color change delayed? Yeah, so one thing about the Pygame, this Pygame display library that I created, it's a little bit slow because what it is doing is it is literally like trying to copy every single pixel in the display.io object, ultimately like the group or the tile grid. It's iterating over that on every single pixel and drawing it into Pygame. So it is a little bit slow. It was not a hitch in YouTube or anything like that. It does sometimes, it goes slow enough to where you can see like the partial refresh, especially on the text. It's easy to see where like occasionally you end up with one word being one color and the other word being the other color. Yeah, that's a good question. And it is faster. It's a lot faster on the PyPortal, so you don't see that nearly as much. That's one of the drawbacks. I'm hoping to improve Blinka Display.io to have what they call dirty rectangle updating, so that way it like tries to only update the parts of the screen where the pixel changed. Hopefully that will make it faster, but that's still a ways off. I think it's kind of beyond my skill set at this time. I looked into it a little bit, but I got to learn some more before I can do it. Okay, so we'll do the label color here. That one's already got underscores on the name of the variables. Yeah, this one, they already had underscores here. Self.labelColor. Selected label doesn't. It's kind of weird that one of them was private, kind of with the underscore, and the other one wasn't. I think, though, we'll want them both to have underscores. And we'll go add properties for them. So, again, I'm going to end up with 2 properties for each, like, one getter and one setter for each of those 2 things. So I'll just copy paste all 4 of those again, and we'll say this is the selected, I think it was called selected label on that one, right? Yeah, selected label and label color. So selected label, here's that. This is the font color of the button when selected. Selected label, selected label. Check color, that's fine. Okay, this one then will be the not selected, but font color. Label color. Let me scroll up and check. Yeah, label color. There we go. Let's fix the name here. And the font color of the button when it's selected. I think the doc string is fine to say font. So selected label, label color. This is the font color of the button. Hey, keep it cool. Got a cat showdown here. Font color of the button body. Let's see. Label color. This is label color. Okay. Selected label, label color, label color. I think that's looking good. And because the rest of the code inside of selected here is already set up to use self.labelColor and self.selected label, it will just pull those colors from those variables that we created. Well, we didn't create them, but we set them in these properties here. Keep it cool, guys. Come on. Why don't you just, here, come here. Hey. Okay, hopefully they're not going to throw down. If I have to stop for just a second, it'll be to separate the cats. They're getting used to living with each other still. Here, actually, 1 second. Come on, just calm down, guys. Yeah, I know, but just calm down. Why don't you just go back up or go pick a direction and go? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I think this should work. Let's try it out. So we have our code here. We're testing. When we run it at first, let's quit this one and launch it. When we run it at first, the text is black. When we click, the text turns to white. So if we use any other colors than those, it will tell us if this is working. So let's go button.label color. I'll do red. And the selected label. Hey, well, I mean, don't just antagonize them. Like, go wherever you're gonna go.
Come on, let's go upstairs. Come on.
Label color.
Come on.
label. So we want the selected label equals, and again we can choose basically anything except black and white. I'll just go with, well, I don't want to use red either. I'll go with yellow for this one. Okay, so one thing I see is this is property label color cannot be set. So let's take a look at the code here. Let's make sure I didn't do anything wrong. I got label color. Ah, yes, I didn't fix the setter here. This needs to be label color setter. There we go. So again, hey! Okay, 1 second, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I was saying another, again, a nice thing about PyCharm, I messed that code up there and it highlighted it yellow for me, so it made it easy to see before I even ran it. That's really nice. Label color, yeah, for sure, right? Cats. These ones, we just got the second one only a few weeks ago, and they're getting better about not just fighting all the time, but occasionally they still want to antagonize each other. Okay, label color, so I think this will work. Let's run it. Did not work so far. One thing is, oh, you know what? It's probably still trying to do like body.fill or something. Oh, well, actually, I didn't even, I copied the ones that were, I copied selected fill and selected outline, both of which did not actually, they saved the variable, but they did not actually change the color anywhere, and that's what we wanted to do with the selected ones. That is also what we want to do with the selected label, but with the label color inside the setter, we actually need to go ahead and set the color right here, which we will do with self.label.something most likely. Let's see where the display text label gets built. Self._label is the label instance, and I think it has on it a palette or something. Let me see what this says here. Just looking at old issues. Yeah. Display shape. Yep. Can check into that in a bit. Thank you. Okay. Somebody was asking about a different issue on a different library. Let me look at the display text. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head how to change the color on a display text. I know it's possible, but I don't know the API for it off the top of my head. Display text, label. So you can create it. So you can set the color when you create it with color. I think you can just call .color and change it afterwards also. Yeah. So that's what we want to do in our button library, is call the labels color property, set it to the new color. So underscore, it's private, so label.color equals label color. There we go. Now I think it should change the color right away. There we go. We got our red. When I click it, we got yellow. It's really hard to tell if that's yellow. Let me do green when you click it. That way it'll be easier to tell that it's not white. Okay, we got red, and there's our green. That is definitely green. Okay, so that's perfect. Back to red, back to green, back to red. So that is doing exactly what we want. So I think we're good to go here. One thing we'll do, I think I mentioned this before, we'll make an example that shows how to use these. That way it can serve as example code, like test code, but also an example for somebody in the future. And then we'll run that code on the PyPortal. And as long as that's good, then I think we're good to go here. We can make this into a PR. So I'll make a file. The way we do the naming on these example files is we try to keep it consistent. So it'll be the name of the library. So display button, and then this, then we put a descriptive name for the example. This one's going to be basically changing colors. Changing colors or color properties. Maybe let's call it color properties. This one we do want to add to the repo because this is going to be part of my PR. I will not add my Pygame display one because that's kind of my own little one-off thing, but this one here I'm gonna definitely add. And what I'll do is I'll just start working from this code that I have on the PyPortal already. So we'll copy this, paste that there, and we can update this stuff. Foamy Guy made this one. 2021 is right. It's pretty much the same. You know what though, actually, while we're here, I do want to make one more improvement while you're here. If anybody caught the streams last week, I did the same kind of thing in the libraries I was working on last week, which is to go ahead and update this to not use, to not assume that we're going to use board.display. We want to add, we'll still actually use it at the end of the day because we're going to run this on a PyPortal and board.display exists on the PyPortal. But what we want to do is set up the code so that it's easy to switch it over to using an external display, and it will have a nice little comment that tells the user how to do it and points them to a guide page that says how to do it. So whenever I run across a library that doesn't have the examples updated, with this little bit of code in it, then I always just go ahead and do it. Let's see, I think I should be in this one maybe. Yes. So Carter put together this guide. It's a really nice guide page that shows you how to set up the displays, external displays, and it talks about external versus internal and all of that. So it's a really nice thing to make sure that we point people to. So I'm going to paste this in. And the other main thing it does is it creates a display variable and sets board.display to it. That way in the rest of your code, you make sure to use the display variable. And so then if you wanted to switch this code to an external display, you would add your setup code at the top here. You would change this one thing right here to point to your external display, and then all the rest of the code below would just continue to work fine on the external display. And it would actually make sense as well if we had code like that for my Pygame one, right? Because we could do the same kind of thing where, we're just setting that display variable right there. So it could work the exact same. That one's not published, or it's not published in this repo at least, so I'm not going to bother messing with it right now. But it's another good example of where, why it makes sense to set your display into a variable like this. Okay, so that's fine. We changed it down here to be display.show. Why are these are mad? Oh, okay, yeah, these are mad because my board import on my PC, obviously it's not a PyPortal, so it doesn't have those, which is fine. So we'll go ahead and change the colors here. Truthfully, we could just go with the same colors that I was testing on the Pygame one, I think. Another thing we can do while we're here is add a doc string that says what this example is for. Set the various color options on the button using properties after the button has been initialized. Okay, so it starts out red fill, blue outline. Red fill, blue outline. We're setting it to green fill, red outline. Selected goes to blue. Selected outline goes to red. Label color starts on red, changes to green when touched. Okay, so I'll copy this over to the PyPortal. Especially on the little colors like the outline and the font, it's probably going to be difficult or impossible to see that on the camera. I'll do my best here, but it's looking a little tough to get the colors in. So that's running now. Let's go to the camera. Whoops. There it is. Okay, so we do have the green, which is good. We touch it, we do go to blue, and again, you can't really see it there, but the text, the hello world text, it is green inside of there. It does look like it's going back to... This is the old code. This is the old code. So this has the problem where it's switching the color wrong. Yeah, we definitely want to make sure to put the newest code on here. There we go. Okay. Now we can go back to the camera. Now we're looking good. So we do have a green background, and it is even red text as well right now, so that's working good. When I touch it, it goes to a blue background and a red outline and green text. When I untouch it, it goes back correctly to green with red text and red outline. And we can go back and forth here, and that is working properly. So everything looks good there on the PyPortal. So let's just give this one last look over, make sure there's nothing else we want to do. And then we will we'll do the action stuff. So we'll run pylint and black. And then get this thing uploaded. I don't have pre-commit set up. That's one of the things I've been meaning to get set up for myself is pre-commit, but I don't have it right now, so I'll just run pylint and black manually. So I do have copyright, which is good because that will make it fail the actions if it doesn't. Have a doc string. I think that one might be optional, but I'm not sure. Pylint does complain about it sometimes. What is this? Oh, it thinks there's a duplicated code fragment. That's all right. Okay. Empty, we do want an empty line here, or else something will complain. Pylint or black, I'm not sure which. We don't need two empty lines here. Let's make sure all of our docs are correct. So this is label color, the font color of the button. I'm just going to say the font color of the button. Yeah, font color of the button. Selected label is the font color of the button when selected. Outline, selected outline is the outline color of the button body when selected. Selected fill, the fill color of the button body when selected. The outline color of the button body, that one's good. The fill color of the button body, that one's good. Okay. All right, let's run Pylint in black on these. So Pylint -rc file dot Pylint rc. We want to run it on this file right here, Adafruit button dot py. Fruit button dot py. I don't know why it's whoa. I don't know why it's giving me so many options there. Licenses. Must be something to do with modules that are installed or something. But that passed, so Pylint gave us a 10, so we're good to go there. We're going to pass actions on that. We will do a black now. Oh, you know what? Also, let's do. We're going to need to do Pylint on the example too, though. So let's do that. Pylint -rc file dot Pylint and examples. Display button color properties. Unnecessary pass statement. Oh yes, I changed this. I did change this code. So it's actually not unnecessary, but it's, or maybe it, yeah, I don't know if that would break it or not. We definitely don't want it. Whether it's necessary or not, it's debatable, but we definitely don't want it. So we'll undo that. Doesn't seem like it was actually, well, maybe I just don't understand how pass works. Okay, there we go. Now we got a 10 out of 10. So now our example is passing Pylint as well. Let's see here. Hey, how's it going, Hugo? Yep, morning here for me. Did not know about Pylint in black. Yeah, Juan Carlos, yeah, it's really nice because the GitHub actions, they automatically run these tools, and then as soon as you push your PR, if it notices that it doesn't have a 10 out of 10, or if it notices on the black side that it would format your code, then it will do the like actions fail and it will go red, and you can always just make a new commit with it. It's not that big a deal if you do it after the fact. But it's really nice to have it all set up locally so that you can know before you push. So black, the way we do this one is on a target of pi35, so -t pi35, Adafruit button. All done. So that one did reformat. You can see there it says one file reformatted. If I were to run it again, this time it will say left unchanged. So, you know, we know that we definitely did change something there when we ran it. Let's do the example 2, black, pi35, examples, display button, color properties. So that one was left unchanged. So that one didn't have anything that needed reformatted, but that's okay. So I think we're good. There is one other, there's one other actions check for the docs. So let me go ahead and do that one too. Docs. I'm not 100% sure what the command is. I guess it's probably inside of here somewhere. Sphinx. Okay, yeah, it is in here. So this is the command for doing the docs. And you do have to go inside the docs directory. So I did a cd docs right there, and now I'm inside of docs, and I can paste this Sphinx build command. Sphinx build -e -w capital lowercase b, then space HTML space dot space underscore build HTML. So we'll run that, and as long as this succeeds, it says build succeeded right here, then we're good to go on that. If there was any kind of problem with like my doc strings, for instance, like if I had forgotten doc strings here, or if they were formatted wrong or something, then that would have failed to build, which, you know, again, it's nice because it will let me know that before I push it, because it will definitely fail on the GitHub side if it's broken. I think we're pretty much ready to go here. I got pylint done, I got black done, my doc's still build. Yeah, I think I'm ready to push this. So I'm gonna go push. I'm just gonna double check on the changes here to make sure that I didn't change anything I didn't mean to. So, yep, we changed fill color and outline color to have underscores. We changed selected, fill, outline, and label all to have underscores. We updated the usages of those variables to use the newly named ones with the underscores. Same thing there, just changing usages. Same thing here. We fixed a little typo there. And then all the new properties we added down at the bottom: fill color, outline color, selected fill, selected outline, selected label, label color. Yep, that all looks good. And then this file, it's all green because it's brand new. The file didn't used to exist, so there's no changes. It's just a whole brand new file. So that's why that one's all green there. So that is all good. So let's make a commit message adding color properties. And I'm gonna go, I have all the shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts for this down. So Control Alt K is what I just pushed. And that was a shortcut for, I think, commit and push maybe. So we can take a look here. Color properties, origin color properties. So because this says origin, that's really good. Origin is my fork. So again, I want to make sure that I'm pushing into my fork instead of Adafruit. So it's really good to make sure that this says origin right here. Name of the branch will be color properties, which it does know is a new branch. Here's my one commit that I did today, which has, again, those same changes. But you can also see down here, there's some other commits listed. And these are because the Adafruit master branch has been updated, like we saw back at the beginning. Mine was 4 commits behind or something, and these are those 4 commits. So whenever I go to push here, it's going to go ahead and get this branch inside my repo up to date with the Adafruit master one. So it's got to push those 4 commits as well to get it up to date. So that's why those are listed here, even though I didn't actually make those changes today. But the top one here is the one that I did actually do today, and that one looks good. So we will go ahead and do push. Let's check the chat real quick. Good idea. Do I get feedback on what changed before it commits? Oh, Hugo says you can also run them as local pre-commit. Yeah, I need to get my pre-commit set up. I don't have it set up yet, but that's something I want to do for sure, is get the pre-commit. Sphinx is basically Doxygen. Yeah, I think so. I'm not as familiar with Doxygen, but Sphinx, I do think it's a similar thing. It basically takes these inline code comments and it turns them into the files that go in this docs_build, which end up being the read the docs page. So like if I go to here and open up this index.html just in the browser here, pull this over. This is basically just the read the docs page. So eventually this gets hosted up inside readthedocs.org or I think maybe CircuitPython.readthedocs.org or whatever. But you can see here, this is the local copy just running on my computer. But this is the exact place where all those read the docs get generated, and they get generated using Sphinx just like that. Not on what changed. Talking about pre-commit, so they got flags and YAMLs. Okay, caught up there. Let me see what Kevin said. Yeah, nothing urgent. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go and see if our push worked. Display button. So one thing that's nice about GitHub is within the few minutes after you make a push, it will do this thing here. So right now I'm looking at the page for Adafruit CircuitPython display button. So for the Adafruit repo, but because mine is a fork of it, it knows that mine had a push just a minute ago. And so 2 things. One, I can click into this. So I'm going to go over to that branch. Now we're on color properties branch. We can confirm right here that says this branch is one commit ahead of Adafruit master. That's exactly what we want because we only did one new commit today. So that's exactly what we want to see. And the other thing then we can do is just use this little button prompt that it has for us right here. So I can click that, create a PR. And we can just fill in some of the information. So it will automatically set up the forks here. So we want to pull from Foamy Guy color properties into Adafruit master. So that's perfect. The name of our PR, we can just keep that adding color properties. And then let's just describe it. This adds properties to be able to change fill color, outline, color, label color, and then the selected ones of all of those, and their selected counterparts. So adds properties to be able to change fill color, outline color, label color, and their selected counterparts. Previously, color changing did not take effect immediately. And many of the relevant properties were private. Why does my computer doesn't know how to spell color? That's disappointing. Previously, color changing did not take effect immediately. Many relevant properties were private. A new example. Name of the example has been added to test and illustrate the new properties, illustrate usage of. Okay, I'll just put the name of that file, examples, display, button, color, properties. Yeah, no setting spell color. Yeah, I'm surprised it doesn't have both in there. I've never noticed that before, that it only does the U one. A new color, display button color properties. Okay, let's preview this. That's looking good. And then the very, very last thing I'll check just to make sure, triple check, is just look at the changes here. So it'll list my commits here, and it will show all the changes here. We already looked at all these in PyCharm, but you never can be too safe. So let's just take 1 second here to quickly skim over this again and make sure there's nothing that looks completely outrageous or like it was way out of the bounds of what we actually worked on. And that's all looking good. Okay, so we'll do create PR. And this will go ahead and, so it's created the pull request now, and then you'll see here in just a second, it's gonna start running the actions. So we will check and see if it passes actions. If it does, then I will go ahead and request a review from the CircuitPython librarians. And then, you know, somebody can come by and review this, or if anybody here who's watching the stream wants to review it, you can totally do that as well. Even if you're not a member of CircuitPython librarians on GitHub yet, that's okay. You can still come here and you could, you know, clone my copy. You could try it out on your PyPortal or whatever device you have. If it works for you, you can post a comment here, or what you can do is if you click on files changed and review changes here, you can either, you know, approve or request changes. Like if it doesn't work for you, if it's crashing or something, you could request changes and post the stack trace, or you can just leave a general comment. So if anybody who's watching wants to review, definitely you are free to do that. What tool am I using to display the chat? So yeah, it's broken. I think it doesn't update the names properly, but what it is, which is the same thing that Scott uses, it is the Discord Stream Kit overlay. So it comes, I go to this page and then I go to install for OBS. It says install, but there's really nothing to install. There's a status widget. That's not the one we want. We want the chat widget right here. I think, yeah, so we need to choose a server. Some of this stuff is filled in automatically sometimes. I think maybe it's to do with being in a different browser right now. Live broadcast, there we go. So there's a bunch of options here for setting up text, color, and size. Lots of the same stuff we were just setting in the button, actually, which is kind of ironic. But you can tweak any of these that you want, and then you grab the URL from here, and that gets you this chat window. And then what I can do is I'll give you, peek behind the curtains here inside my OBS. I have, I don't know, this might go, yeah, it's going to go infinite on me, so it might be hard to see, but I have chat browser here, and it is it's a window source, and it's pointed to a browser instance that has that page loaded. And then the one other thing I did that you might notice is I customized the size a little bit. And that was a little bit trickier. The way that I did that is with JavaScript. I have a JavaScript, well, I'm not going to be able to do it in this browser because it's saved in the other one. Let me do it this way. Pull a Chrome instance over here. So I have both of these things bookmarked. Adafruit live chat right here will bring me to this page. And then I have this other bookmarklet right here. Resize Discord chat, and I can run that, and it changes this to make it fit nicer. I don't pull the YouTube chat in like Scott does. I want to try to keep my chats down to just 1 or 2 so that it's a little bit easier for me to manage. I'm still very new to streaming. But this is the way I did it, and the code that does that is just a little JavaScript bookmarklet. Let's see. Resize Discord chat. Whoops, that tried to run it. I don't know if there's an easy way to view it. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of tough to tell, but it's a JavaScript bookmarklet, so it just executes some code. Basically what it's doing is finding the chat container, adding a style property to just change the width and height on that. And I also had to pull up the messages class thing, and that allowed me to resize it to fit nicely into my stream window, accounting for the fact that I don't have the YouTube stream also. So on Scott's, he stacks them up there, and they fill out that space nicely, but I don't want to mess with YouTube chat, truthfully. So that's what I got. Let's see if this passed actions. Not yet. Okay. We'll wait on that for a minute. I'll wrap up probably pretty quick here after this passes actions. If anybody has any other questions or thoughts or comments or ideas of other things for me to work on, feel free to share them now. But once this one passes, I'll do the request review, and then we'll wrap it up after that. I do think I'm going to start doing these. I'm going to try to go pretty regularly. So I think this time slot's going to end up being where it is. I'm not 100% nailed down yet, but I think I'm going to keep going with this time slot. So it was 10 a.m. Central for me. I'm in the Central time zone, so 10 a.m. on Saturday in the Central time. So yeah, that would be like 11 a.m. Eastern or 8 a.m. Pacific. And I'm not sure about UTC or some of the European times, but that's another thing you can let me know if you have a preference on what time works best for you, what time you want to watch content like this. I work full time, so it's not going to be during the day on a weekday, maybe possibly on a weeknight, but I kind of like the weekends, so I'll probably try to stick to the weekends. And I like the morning slot because it's kind of opposite of what Scott does, but the day after, so stuff is still fresh. And it seems like there's a fair amount of people around in the mornings, usually on the weekends, so I figured it'd be good to do it then. Let's see here. 1600. Nice. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, so I'll stick to this. I might go a little earlier some days, maybe an hour earlier. But yeah, that's about the time I'm aiming for right now. Again, that's like, 9 or 10 a.m. Central Time. And so far, the ones I've done, they've been a lot like this one. I was working on library PRs. I did reviews on the last one, and then this time, I wrote some code for a PR. I do have an idea in mind for a slightly different format video as well, so I'll try it out. I don't know if I'll do it tomorrow or maybe next week or when I'll get to it, but the other format I want to do is like a library spotlight video. So instead of actually working specifically on code for a new PR or working specifically on reviewing code in a PR, what I will do is just take a high level look at a library, and we'll go through, we'll run all the examples, we'll talk about what it's for, we'll look at the Learn guide for it. I'll probably try to keep that one a little bit shorter. I think 2 hours is probably a little bit long just to dive in and look at a library. But maybe like 30 minutes or an hour, somewhere in that range, I'll try to aim for, and just give people a really good introduction to the library. That way it could be pointed to in the docs or somewhere as just like, hey, here's what this library is, here's how to use it, that sort of thing. And so I'll just kind of pick libraries based on the ones I have the most familiarity with, which is mostly display.io stuff. So like display button is what we worked with today. Display text I have a lot of experience with. Display shapes as well. So probably starting on those ones, but I will definitely be interested in branching out towards other ones as well. So if there's libraries that you're interested in seeing that type of overview on, feel free to hit me up on Discord and let me know what you think. Let me check the Twitch chat while we're waiting on the actions here. I think there's probably nothing in there, but just in case. Yeah, okay. Last week we had somebody came by and posted some weird link in there I had to delete, so try to keep an eye on that. Morning and weekends are better. Yeah, happen to stay in this afternoon because it's cold out. Yep. Okay. Let's see. I don't know, maybe the actions is running kind of slow today. It's usually fairly quick. Oh, it's done already. It just didn't refresh the page, I think. There we go. Yeah, it is done already. So all checks have passed the actions, which mean Pylint and Black and Sphinx are all fine, and pre-commit as well, which does some other stuff like reuse, license checking, and some other things we just added recently. So all of the actions passed, we're good to go here. So the only thing really that's left for me to do is just request a review. So I will request CircuitPython librarians. That way it goes to everybody that is a CircuitPython librarian. I think that was me. Oh, I don't know. I think you said, I think you might have said hi or something last week, Hugo. Somebody posted a weird like Russian.ru link. I didn't click on it to see what it was. But yeah, it was some kind of weird looking spam link. Juan, so I guess you could say kind of. So yeah, just to reiterate, I mentioned it at the beginning of the stream, but since we're wrapping up here, it's good to say it again. To start all the way back, my name is Tim, go by Foamy Guy everywhere online. This video, so making these videos is not a paid thing. They're not paying me to create these videos or to stream or anything like that, but Adafruit has and does pay me to work on guides and other software from time to time, and I definitely enjoy working for them. I definitely enjoy supporting them as a customer or buying their products and everything like that. So they're not paying me to create this video, but I definitely support them. Definitely think if you want to see me create stuff like this and other people create content like this, it's very good to support them by going to adafruit.com and purchasing hardware from them, even though they're not, paying me for this. That's kind of how it goes. That's what I think. It's a really cool project. I really like the CircuitPython project. Obviously, right? It's what I spend a lot of my time working on. And I would like to see CircuitPython succeed, as far as it can. And one of the ways, to help CircuitPython succeed is by helping Adafruit, because they are paying the people who are working on it. So kind of long-winded, but that's how it breaks down right now for me with Adafruit. And yes, you have a good weekend too, Hugo, and I'll talk to you guys later. So I think we're good to go here. Again, I'm not sure if I will be back tomorrow. I did both Saturday and Sunday last week just because I was still trying to practice everything out and get the setup running and everything. So if I'm around tomorrow morning and I'm working on something, I might stream, but I'm not 100% sure. But definitely next Saturday, I'll be back for sure around the same time again next Saturday. So if you want to check it out, you can do it then. And for now, that's all. I appreciate all you guys watching. Thank you. Let's see here. Gotta get quicker at shutting it off, I guess.